TNA Wrestling, what an impact we had this week. They certainly crossed the line, even with the help of NXT, and you could not believe the betrayal at the end of Impact. We will talk about all of this right now on Hitting the Turnbuckle. TNA had a great show this week. It was two big matches. Well, there was a lot of more than two big matches. I mean, every match in TNA is relatively big, but they had two sort of main matches. One, a 20-person battle royal with the winner facing the world heavyweight champion Frankie Kazarian. Uh, I think it's on the first Impact of 2026. And the other one being a main crazy cage match at the end involving TNA and NXT. Um, Before we get to that, just a few bits of news. There's apparently mm, conflicting reports that some TNA wrestlers have signed short-term agreements with the company, although I think one of them was reported to be Steve Macklin and Deonna Purrazzo muted or somewhat muted that in a response. So we don't necessarily know if that's true, but he was one of the names. AJ Francis was another one. Hopefully, look, hopefully both have re-signed with TNA because they're both very. Macklin's incredible, and like I've always said on this channel from day one when he debuted at TNA, AJ Francis is far better than what a lot of people make out to be. That's what I would say. So hopefully he has. Hopefully they both have because we're in a position where TNA are getting on the cusp of something really special. We know the television deal starts next year, and there's just so much to be excited about. And you really wouldn't want to leave a company right now that's got all of that going on. So yeah, let's hope. Let's hope it's true. Let's hope they stay a lot longer. Anyway, the Battle Royal kicks off. TNA's 20-man Battle Royal. Actually, the winner takes on Frankie Kazarian on the first, I'll say the first Impact, but I'm pretty sure that Santana's got the shot on the first Impact. Have to rewatch. Anyway, um, as Battle Royals go, they're always quite crazy. They're always nuts. They're always, it's hard to keep an eye on things. Um, One notable point about this Battle Royal, there was a little bit in the middle portion of this where Bear Bronson and Jake something got into it. And all I can say is if the TNA management was watching that portion of that match, A, they would have seen dollar signs, and B, they have got to book a match between Jake something and Bear Bronson. That is without question of a doubt for me. Funnily enough, Bear Bronson was one of the final few, uh, as was actually, funny enough, AJ Francis come out and pulled Rich Swann out. So the former first class members still not quite settled their differences. But, the finals come down to Bronson, Eric Young, and Ryan Nemeth. I mean, I thought it was quite surprising. I expected Ryan because of the comedy stuff he's been doing, Turkey Bowl and all that. I expected him to be one of the first eliminated from this battle royal. Not a disrespect, it's just you know what I personally would have thought would have happened. But he was one of the final. He was the final three. Would you believe? Bear Bronson took care of him. Then it was Eric Young and Bear Bronson, and they were fighting everywhere. I mean, obviously battle Royal Rumble rules. Feet touch the floor over the top rope, but they were both fighting on the apron. And in the end, see, everyone probably would have thought Eric Young was going to win this. And when it come down to those two, I was hoping Bronson, but I thought Eric Young. But Bear Bronson eliminates Eric Young and thus earns the opportunity to face Frankie Kazarian for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship in January. I'll say this. We had Bear Bronson on this show, and you can see the interview actually in the special guest interviews. Excuse me, the morning cup of Joe. Mm. We um we interviewed him, and he's ever since leaving AEW. Again, this kind of hits a familiar theme with a lot of the TNA wrestlers. Doesn't work out like WWE, doesn't work out in AEW, comes to TNA, and all of a sudden, you go to the independents, sorry, you make a bit of a name for yourself on there. Bear Bronson did that, death matches, you name it. It's getting rave reviews. And comes to TNA, and within 2 weeks of getting there, he gets a shot at Kazarian for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's brilliant. I loved it. I thought that was going to be you know, a surprising victory. And this is what's a good thing about TNA, right? Surprises and everything like that galore. Speaking of which, obviously the big TV deal I've mentioned before kicks off in America on January the 15th. But for us over here in the UK, for international viewers, TNA Plus is the only way to get your TNA weekly fix. To do that, over here in the UK, if you sign up, you download the app, and for £9.99, which is a cup and a quarter of coffee, you get Impact. You get the specials like Final Resolution and all of that. You get the pay-per-views like Genesis, and you get the back catalogue of action from the likes of AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, etc., etc. So get it downloaded, people. You are missing out. This is going to be an incredible year for TNA coming up in 2026. I can't wait to see what they do next year. And the first, obviously, a live Impact on AMC as well. Genesis is coming up as well. We have lots of stuff going on for TNA. So this is really a good time for you to get that download, get subscribed, and get watching to TNA wrestling. Anyway, the Angel Warriors were next. Xia Brookside, the Xia Brookside and the Knockouts champion Lei Yingli together against Myla Moore and Tessa Blanchard, who with Robert Stone and Victoria Crawford. This was a long time. Consider we just had a battle royal and we've still got the cage match to come. I thought this was a longer match than I anticipated. If you remember last week on here, I was saying matches were too short. This is going to be a total contradiction here. I thought this was too long as a match. I feel as if the crowd were too, look, you always say start the show hot, right? And you're kind of on that trajectory as you go through. You start the show hot, the crowd dips, and then it jumps back up for your main event. And I did feel like they were just not quite into this as much as maybe they should have done if there wasn't a battle royal at the start. I do feel that it was kind of in an impossible position, really, this particular match. Four great talents, no doubt about that. Ye Ying Lee, should she be in a tag team when she's a champion? I don't know, but that is for another day, I suppose. But yeah, felt the crowd were too exhausted after the battle royal. Thought it was a little too long after the battle royal as well. But having said that, perfectly fine match. I still think Tessa Blanchard is wasted in a tag team. I feel as if it's too early for her to go for the championship if she's not going to win it. Because when Tessa goes for the championship, she should really win it. I don't know. I don't know if they know what to do with Tessa Blanchard. And right now, it just seems logical for her to be as a tag team. And they will probably win, I think, the Knockouts Tag Team Championships at some point. I really do believe that. Um, but it's a conundrum right now with Tessa Blanchard because she's without a doubt one of the best talents on that knockout roster, maybe even on the roster, to be fair. And I'm not quite sure. I feel as if she's stuck in the middle of something at the minute and need a bit of direction. I mean, if it's going for tag team gold, she's aligned with Robert Stone. Perhaps the knockouts tag championships is the way forward for her in short term, and then long term, maybe as we build to Bound for Glory next year, she heads up for the knockout championship. But having said that, I still think I now think Danny Hartwell. I now it's because of last week's dog color. I now think Danny Luna is ahead of Blanchard and Indy Hartwell, really, in this, to be quite honest. So, anyway, the end of this match was Warriors Way, Facebuster. But, you know, I think Luna is first in line. I do think Blanchard's coming though, and like I said, if Tessa Blanchard goes for it, she should win the championship. So, yeah, I think she's stuck in a bit of limbo at the minute, but unless they move her into the Knockouts tag team direction, which they could do, and she could become champion as at least a short-term band-aid fix, so to speak. Um, been listening to talk too much Cornet. I think long term, but as I say, potentially maybe Slammiversary even or Bound for Glory, she should definitely win that championship. Although I would say, I don't know, obviously with all the controversy in that, I'm not sure maybe AMC will have any say in who champions are, but that should be, Jesus, she should have a champion. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Champion should be the best person on the roster. And right now it is Lei Yingli, and very true that is. They had a bit of a backstage bit with Blanchard and Mila Moore, and he was just trying to get them up a bit. And the Diamond Collective is what they're called now. Well, that's a fitting name for the tag team. They did get caught up with Lei Ying Lee as well, and Danny Luna wanted her shot, and Lei Ying Lee basically just said, "Anytime, bitch." Which is great. And I want that match. That match is going to be brilliant. I think I said it last week, Danny Luna. Um, I've seen her over here for years. I know Subculture, but she does her best work. And this is not a hit. Subculture, this is not a hit. But the tag team stuff she's doing at TNA, she does her best work as a single. And she has been, these last couple of matches with Indy Hartwell have really shown just who Danny Luna is, and perhaps that's what we've been missing in TNA. But you know, she should really win the knockout. You give her this much momentum. If she doesn't win the knockouts championship, with all the momentum she's got coming in now, I think that'll be a big mistake. And excuse me, not because she's English or anything like that. When you build somebody up with the momentum that you built up Danny Luna with right now, with the matches that she's been having, if she falls short of the Knockouts Championship, I don't think that's the right move, in my opinion. Anyway, you build someone up like that to knock them down. I'm not sure, but then Indy Hartwell, you could argue, done the same thing with, and I still think the Knockouts Championship's in with her grasp at some point as well. But we will see. Um, Elijah had a concert of sorts. Finally, the fans did kind of wake up a little bit for this. They do love Elijah. He was at the John Cena's last show, by the way, as was Leon Slater, of course. And he was, all the four. That's got issues with at the moment. He carried Ali out on a horse. If you remember correctly, he was doing a little song out. You knew all the four was going to come out in this. And eventually, all the four did leave Elijah laying at the end of this. The great hands got in there. Special Agent Zero, of course, gets in there. Ali nailed him in the back with a guitar. So, Tasha Steelz got involved. I think he was going to hit Tasha Steelz at one point, to be honest with you. So, you know, it was interesting. It was interesting. Um, with that. And obviously, look, the Order 4 or the Ali Elijah feud still it hasn't ended, which is great. I can't wait because they're going to have a match. Surely they're going to have a proper match soon. I know they may have had one, but yeah, that match they're going to have another one if they get it back in there again because this is far from over with Order 4. That is for sure. Indy Hartwell. Interview, look, she's not cleared. She didn't really look too battered, really. Danny Luna looked like a bottle of tomato sauce at the end of that match. And but she said once she's cleared, she's coming back after that knockout championship. she's probably a bit down the line now, if I'm being honest with you. But that's that is what it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens when she's back and cleared. Probably next time, next week, maybe, or the week after. Um, they did show a clip of NXT this week where Moose called out the NXT North American champion Ethan Page to a match on December the 30th. So Moose back in NXT, trying to claim some gold. And look, Stacks has got the international championship, so they're going to need to claim some championship back, right? Let's hope that they do. That's for sure. Right, main event. Oh, before that, Moose. Looking at my notes. Wants a championship opportunity against Leon Slater. He wants his rematch against Leon Slater, but Cedric Alexander come out and said, nah, not quite, sir. He's first in line because he did win that six-person match last week to get the opportunity to wrestle Leon Slater first. But Moose has called his shot. Does seemingly want another opportunity. I mean, he was a great X Division champion. He proved so many people wrong as X Division champion. There's no doubt about that. And Moose and Leon one more time. Moose and Cedric one more time. Hey, why don't you put all three together? No issue with that whatsoever. That would be great. Either or, when these matches happen again, they're going to be great. My only long-term concern is the amount of times Leon has been on WWE TV. As a TNA fan, and listen, I'm a fan of wrestling. It'd be big. Leon would be a great fit anywhere he goes. But as a TNA fan, don't really want to be losing Leon. But we'll see. We will see. Here we go. It was kind of a war game scenario with one cage, so it was a bit cramped in there with all the guys in there. Um, Brooks Jensen started. Uh, Santana in a low rider, which was great. And, knock back to Eddie Guerrero was great. Obviously, El Paso, Texas, they're going to love it. Lexus King was in next. So they obviously, team TN, NXT had the advantage into this one. Macklin come in. He didn't take long to start using Lexus King's cane. Macklin causes mayhem. What a surprise. Um, Tyson Dupois was next. Matt Hardy followed, but Matt was attacked by Tyreek before he could get in there, and Tyreek decided, I'm taking your spot, buddy. And it was 4-on-2 as Matt laid outside. Jeff Hardy was back. It was his first cage match in 7 years, would you believe? Stacks come in. And then it was interesting because the Righteous then come out and took Matt Hardy to the back. That was a quite weird way. And then Santino come out as number 10. Obviously, Cardona was out injured, and you know he did take out all the NXT guys except Channing Stacks Lorenzo. However, he stopped short at that, but Channing didn't stop short of him. He decided the only thing I would say about this is because with all of the bad blood between NXT TNA, and I know we saw blood last week on TNA, I would have thought this match you would have had some bloodshed just because of how things have been. Like I said, last week I know we saw it was a lot of you know, uh you know, we saw a lot of blood last week on TNA TV. So, I get it a little bit, but I just feel as if both these matches deserve the blood, really, to be quite honest with you. But there we go. That is what it is. We didn't get blood in this one. Santana was out the cage at one point. He had to try and get back in, which was quite, yeah, it was an interesting one because at the end, for this. Morella pulled out the Cobra sock and Santana hit the spin the block on Jensen to give Team TNA the win. However, this isn't where the story ends, folks. Everyone was leaving the cage, and it left Ariana Grace, her fiance, Janice Dax Lorenzo, and her dad, Santino Marella. Santino and Ariana hugged, and then she hit him with a low blow and called her father a deadbeat. A bit like Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio. But, Stack started to beat him up. You tried to have Santana get back into the cage. You tried to have Macklin get back into the cage. It looks like the war hasn't ended. And it looks like the person that was setting all of this up all along and playing that bit in between was Ariana Grace. Is that going to be announced? We don't know. But that was not even how TNA ended this week. You would have thought that's how TNA ended this week, right? Wrong. Because we went to a cinematic finish on TNA this week. Matt Hardy waking up, just looking like he's a little bit groggy, with clips from the Righteous' promo. Hardy picks up a necklace, looks a bit confused, and the Righteous were there. And then Vincent said all of their devotion was for Hardy, and he's asked Hardy to help them. He thinks the Hardys can become immortal, but they need to trust him. Dutch had a gift for him, but Hardy, still wearing his belt, slapped it away as Dutch laughed. Now, interesting way to end TNA this week. The Righteous with their mystical powers, a hell of a cage match there as well, with as we said, a massively surprising betrayal at the end. Really good battle royal as well, with probably a surprise winner, Brooks Bear Bronson. He will take on Frankie Kazarian, and of course we had the Angel Warriors as well. Now next week's TNA, it's on Christmas Day. Open your presents. But while you're cooking your turkey next Thursday, or actually it'd be Thursday night. So for us in the UK, it'd be Boxing Day. While you're cooking your turkey leftovers from Christmas Day, download TNA Plus, subscribe, get the 10 for 9.99 package. You'll get to see a 10-person surprise tag team match, plus TNA's end of year awards. But like I said, TNA Plus, make sure you download it, make sure you subscribe, because next year is going to be incredible for TNA. The new TV deal with AMC, there's going to be so much going on. Make sure you do that. Great TNA this week, as I say, with a shocking betrayal at the end. Follow us at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media outlets. And until next time, everybody, cross the line, stay safe, and goodbye.